Welcome to the Seahawkers podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Schultz, and today I am joined by my good buddy, Clinton Bonner. We are also going to be welcoming on a special guest. Coach Derek is coming back to the show, and we're going to be talking not just rookies. I think we build this as primarily looking at rookies, but I know, Clinton, you're excited to get into some other folks too, along with a look at our Seahawks rookies.
Yeah, I'm really excited to get into it with Coach DC again because he's the man. I'm just gonna bring it up right away. No reason to dilly dally, right? But you're right, Brandon. We put it out there as a rookie report with Coach DC, and of course that's all 22 NFL films. We'll put his stuff on screen later. Absolutely tremendous analyst and a friend of the pod. Really good dude. I love him because he takes complicated things and he explains them very well that I could learn more football. And he does a really cool job with his video breakdowns. And yeah, it won't just be about the rookies. We're going to definitely touch on the scheme a lot. And then maybe like some second-year dudes or third-year dudes that maybe Brandon are starting to shine a bit more in this Kubiak offense or in this McDonald defense. We won't mention special teams though.
Well, after this game against the Chiefs, yeah, special teams, unless you really want to just selectively look at special teams, then maybe we shouldn't get into it. But
yes, very selective.
So that's how some of these rookies may end up getting their jobs. So it's something to consider. Also worth considering, yeah, we've got a new member out here, Michael Knight, becoming a member out on YouTube. So big thanks to Michael. He's been a part of the show through the Super Chats, now a YouTube member.
Yeah, and you know what? That's a great segue, right? So we'd love everybody out there to subscribe, youtube.com/Seahawkers podcast. And if you're super cool like Michael, then you could become a member out here as well. And yeah, Michael's been great with the Super Chats. We also saw Michael show up just like a day or two ago, Brandon, in our Discord, because he's been hanging out with us out here. And our Discord, man, I've had so much fun lately. Of course, winning is better than losing, so it's kind of fun. But man, oh man, has our Discord been on absolute fire lately.
It's a great place to hang out. Thank you for the welcome back, Michael. Had a fun vacation. Now I'm back. I was back last night, but just behind the scenes, not quite ready to go live. But here I am. I'm rested, recovered, and ready to talk some football with Coach DC.
Absolutely. We got one more thing before we bring Coach on. Those who were with us last night when we did 3 in, 3 out, which was a lot of fun. Adam was on with us and Brandon produced. We had this poll up, but it was only like a few hours in. At that point, Sundell was winning about 60-40. And for those listening on audio, the poll is basically, is this Sundell's starting center job at this point? Or should it still be Olu? Or are you not sure at this point? Well, Brandon, from yesterday, it only increased. We got more than double more of the votes. So nearly 500 people now voting, but the percentages are kind of streaming in for Jalen here. Didn't get to take your take on it. We're going to talk to Coach DC about it, but I do wonder, what do you think, dude? Do you think it's, if it ain't broke, don't fix it also? Or you still think Olu deserves a shot?
I don't care. And here's why. I don't think that there's much difference between either of these guys. I feel like I've seen enough through the preseason that I'm okay with Sundell going ahead and continuing on because he hasn't shown me that he would be a disaster. And yeah, I've seen the same exact thing from Olu. So for continuity, and if the line's looking good how it is, I guess I would just default to Sundell going back out there.
All right. I love the I don't care. I also love Michael Knight, another $5 super chat, dude. You're the man. What could we say? Thank you very, very much. And of course, if you want to drop super chats, you can. If you want to drop some great comments, and when we get Coach Derek on with us, you could put some live questions in there. We'll try to do our best to filter them. And I think that is what we should do now, Brandon, is get right to it. Bring the man on. So Let's bring him on. So welcome to the podcast again. We got Coach Derek of all 22 NFL films. Coach, you are on vacation and you are still with us. Yeah. So we really do appreciate that. And we want to tell the audience who may not know you yet about you, but how are you doing, man? And how's this early 2025 season treating you?
Well, first of all, thank you guys for having me on again. It's always a lot of fun to go on podcasts about teams other than the Ravens. I've kind of done my rounds with Ravens content creators, and everyone's extremely positive, but I always enjoy being on podcasts for Lions and Seahawks fan bases a little bit more, to be honest with you, because there isn't as much drama about a particular name. And so like to hear you say about Sundell, right? Am I saying that correctly?
Correct.
Sundell versus Olu, I don't care, was just kind of refreshing to hear, because people get wrapped up in the name or maybe the college they went to. Like, for example, like the Lions, they've got so many college football teams in the state of Michigan that, like, for example, Aiden Hutchinson, he's a Michigan dude. You've got Lions fans who went to Michigan State that really don't like Aiden Hutchinson. I'm like, what are you doing just because of the college you went to? So anyway, it's always a lot of fun. And the early season here has been a blast. It's been a blur to try to get through as much film as I can and just push the pace, try to watch as much, film as possible. I wish these teams played each other in the preseason, because it would make things a whole lot easier.
Yeah, a little condensed would be nice for you, right, to combine them. But here you are covering 3 teams and doing it really, really well. And of course,
Right.
like you said, you are a Ravens fan, but Lions have been real fun to follow. Would be interesting to get your take on what direction you think they may be headed. Are they going to be steady Eddie? Or do you expect a step back from one of the powerhouses, especially last 2 years? Really fun team still. And what people can see on screen if you're watching on youtube.com/Seahawkers podcast is we got some thumbnails up there, some really recent videos that Coach Derek has put out on his channel. And it's youtube.com/@all_22_films. Find that out on YouTube. And also he's got another one coming up about the Kubiak run game. I think that one's coming out in, I think tomorrow it's scheduled for, right?
About 3 hours from now.
All right. Perfect. So
After you're done, make sure you're subscribed, and then you get notified as soon as that goes live, and you can tune in and watch it as soon as it drops.
Yep, 100%. All right, so let's bring him back on stage here so we get be a little bit bigger here. All right, so Coach, general observations. Obviously, Seahawks fans, we watch this. We're going bananas because we think we're going to the Super Bowl after watching this Kansas City game, and maybe we are. But first, general takes on what did you see, what did you like versus the Chiefs? That I know there's lots that stood out, but of all of it, what would you hone in on?
I think I said this in my reaction video and maybe one of the film studies that I did. Can you guys hear me okay?
Perfect. Yep.
The Seahawks just played at a higher frequency. And also that's kind of a double entendre, because not only were they louder but they were also more active. They were more frequent in their hits. The block destruction is something that I always try to look at. Thank you, Kendrick. Appreciate that. The block destruction is what I look at. And the Chiefs, to me, have been one of the standards in the last 3 or 4 years on drafting young talent on the defensive side to offset how much money they were spending, with Mahomes, Kelsey, and others. Of course, they got rid of Tyreek Hill 3 years ago. But the point being, I've always just looked at the Chiefs as a team that does things the proper way on defense. And I don't care if they had second stringers out there. They did have some starters on the field. This was an absolute wipeout from the standpoint of physicality, blocking at the point of attack. They didn't play Mahomes and Kelsey, so people say take it with a grain of salt. I do not. You watch the physicality on the field, and it's palpable. In my opinion, it's observable. There's no stats. There's no advanced metrics on it. But when you see the way those guys blocked up front, not just the offensive linemen, the fullback is a heat seeker. Both of them, I guess. What is 40? Is it 40? I think.
Yeah.
Utes?
Yeah, that's
yeah.
it.
Isn't there another guy whose number's in the 40s though?
Well, there's 38, right? That's
38.
Brady Russell, and he's
Fullback
hybridish.
/ tight end.
Yeah, exactly. And Utes,
Those guys are heat seekers.
Yeah,
and they're coming after people on every play. I just thought the design of everything on the offensive side was great, and when McDonald on the other side and Durde, I'm pronouncing that correctly, hopefully.
Dirty, yep.
When those guys can stop or slow down your run significantly, you're going to be fighting an uphill battle. And in my experience, coaching at the levels that I coached at, high school and below, sometimes you'd show up to play a team and the field was actually slanted one way or the other. There was a grade. Maybe it was 3%, 5%. Who knows, when you're standing there field level. But the point is, the Seahawks looked like they were playing downhill on offense and defense in the first quarter. And then when the field flipped in the second quarter, they were still playing downhill somehow. So that's the analogy that I make to people, is that a team looks like they're playing sometimes 3 degrees downhill, 5 degrees. The Seahawks look like 7. They were just a whole lot more physical and committed. And I thought Kubiak had a great game plan offensively to attack the 4-3 structure that Spagnuolo typically shows, in 12 or 21 personnel groups, basically keeping their nickel defense off the field.
So exactly why, Coach, do you feel like this then is translatable to the regular season? Is it just because of the physicality part? Is it you take into account that it's still a Steve Spagnuolo defense, even though it's preseason?
Yeah, of course.
I'm just trying to. I want to be hyped for the season, but I also want to recognize that it was preseason.
Yeah, of course you should. That's reality. I think there's nothing wrong with that. That's mature. It's still the same coaches coaching guys. And when I look out there and I see 90 on the field, Chanel was on the field. One of their other inside linebackers is a rookie. I think 31 is a pretty good player. I'm not sure where he is on the depth chart. He's like a Sam linebacker. One of their defensive tackles and hybrid guys, I think 51 might be Dana. Saw him on the field. Joshua Williams has played a lot of snaps for them at times. Number 2, that's the guy that Bobo beat for his second touchdown. He, of course, Williams, number 2, he didn't play any snaps in the playoffs last year, but he did play 50-plus snaps for about 8 weeks straight. So it's a guy that's been on the field for them a lot, and there were other players who did. And so I have no problem with someone, buying in totally, because it's not just the execution of the play, but watch the last, 0.7 seconds of a play. And this is where my analogy about playing downhill, I think, really fits. Your team, the Seahawks, on offense and defense, is finishing forward, and the Chiefs were consistent. There's one play. It's the, I believe it might be Holani's 30-yard run, late second quarter on the second possession.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually, in my video that is coming out tonight, paused the screen at one point and put like a rectangle and was like, look, there's 4 Chiefs professional football players on the defensive side that are on the ground, got their ass kicked. And that just doesn't happen to the Chiefs. They're a great football organization. I'm a Ravens fan. So for me to say that, I admire what their front office does. And that game was over after the second possession.
Yeah, it felt really good. It felt like we had, in many instances, running the football, that we were the bowling balls and there was just lots of pin action, and they were Chiefs. And that's not what we've been used to for several years now, really, really dating back to, Chris Carson had some great things cooking. And that's probably the last time it felt like that, but still, different styles too, for sure. So let's dive a bit.
Sorry.
That's all right. No, I was going to say let's progress forward and dive into some individual play on the offensive line. You put out a Zabel video not too long ago, and you probably have more coming because he's a very hot commodity right now. And during the NFL Combine, I think the whole world that was watching saw him do like the mirroring drills, and then of course he shows out at the Senior Bowl. And you could see his sheer athleticism. And there was people doubting the small schoolness of the whole thing. And yet, to me, when I watch him, the
different school, man. That's not a small school. That's
correct. Thank you.
That's a group that plays, especially if you play them in their place. I don't care who you are. You could be Alabama, Georgia, whatever. There's going to be an aspect to that type of game. Those guys believe, and they play their own brand of football. I'm a big fan of what they do, and some of those Dakota teams. You watch the film of them against SEC schools, Big 12 schools, Big 10, and you're like, those guys are competing. And even if they lose, I think NDSU played Colorado last year.
Yeah,
right? It was a really good game. Week 1,
an early game for sure. Yeah.
As a Ravens fan, man, at a certain point in the draft process leading up to the draft, you don't exactly know where a player is going to be selected, right? Zabel was one of those guys at a certain point, mid-20s, maybe, mid-teens. And there was a part of me that was like, man, I wish this guy falls to us. Because, I think that our team's weakness is offensive line. I think it's clear from a consistency standpoint. Our offensive line doesn't stack up to a lot of other teams. And hopefully I'm way wrong in that. And Zabel was a guy I looked at as, an instant starter. And he looks great in the preseason so far. Did you see his block against Kansas City where it's a run play to the offense's right, and Zabel is working out like at an angle away from him, and the D tackle's foot kind of slides out, and he hurdles it, stays on his path. He looks like a athletic, like fullback when he's moving. And him and the center do great work together. I'm kind of, same as you, Brandon, that I don't care who the starting center is, but is it Sundell, right?
Sundell's the NDSU, his former teammate, Zabel's.
He's in the second year.
It's a cool story that both of those guys are next to each other. Mm-hmm. But I think the talent level, we've seen Sundell, I think, take a step up from last year. And so I think that's why it's similar in skill set, I feel like, to what we've seen from Olu.
Especially in the zone stuff. They're both exceptional at it. They're just so good at, passing off a guy enough to their backside guys such that they can move up to the linebacker level and really seal off that. And it happened. I think it happened 6 or 8 times in that game. I'm very excited for you guys. Unfortunately, the first 2 weeks of the season, I think the Ravens and/or Lions and Seahawks play like at the same time. So I'll be like watching the game later in the afternoon. I love those weeks when like the Seahawks play on Thursday, the Ravens play 1 p.m. Sunday, and the Lions play Monday night. It's like just so much fun for me. I saw the schedule come out this year, and I was really angry at how much overlap there was. Anyway, sorry, I digress.
It's funny you bring up that play though, because as part of Clinton's show, 3 in 3 out that he does, he picks like 3 different plays to highlight and focus on like the positives of it. And one of those plays was that exact play that you mentioned with Zabel hurdling the foot of the defender that came out. And I'm just curious though, like with a play like that, why is that so impressive to you?
Well, it's on his track, and it's something that shows up. Maybe in certain drills they're doing that, but they're not doing that with the human's foot. It'd be like a bag or something, that it may or may not be there. So it's there sometimes, and sometimes it's not. So I just think he's showing athleticism in a unexpected manner that someone's foot is there, the awareness to see it. How many times do you see, actually it happened 2 other times in that game when the Seahawks are on offense, that an offensive lineman, one time it was Zabel. He runs into the back of a defensive tackle's leg and kind of trips over. Leo Chenal, 54, who's a spectacular football player, man. That guy is really good at inside linebacker. It looks like, if you watch it live, it looks like Chenal just knocks Zabel down easily. Well, if you rewind, about 0.5 seconds before that, he's actually already tripping over a D tackle's foot, and Chenal just really finished him off. So I think it's impressive because that didn't occur.
It's so again, we're getting used to a different world at this point, Coach, because again, it is, as you know, you've been tracking Seattle. When did you start? About last year with Seahawks videos? Is that right? Or 2 years ago?
Yeah. I did some Reek Woolen stuff his rookie year. Probably the highest performing video that I ever did for a period of time was one that was the top rookie corners. And it was, his rookie year, of course, Gardner's rookie year. I included a couple of other guys there for the purposes of elongating the video. But, saw it then and was, amazed like everyone else. And then when McDonald was hired, it was like, well, I already have some knowledge of the system. Whatever my knowledge level is, 20%, 25%, hopefully it's that high. And it would be easy for me to watch the game and really focus on the defense. And then you guys hire a new offensive coordinator last year. And I thought, well, this would be fun to track the offense as well. And I'm a big fan of Kenneth Walker III. So really it was 2024, I guess. 2023, of course, saw you guys come to Baltimore in a game that, went really haywire, I know. Really early, but
ugly for us. Yeah. Ugly for us.
Well, that's what Mike McDonald does. When he can stop your run, that's what he will do sometimes is he will put the quarterback in a blender or a grinder such that each possession is more difficult with the previous one than the previous one, because you've got so many looks showing up on 3rd and 6 that you can't comprehend what the hell's going to happen post snap. And that's what you want to get to this year. And you were kind of on that track last year. And then the run defense, of course, really faltered over a 4 or 5 week stretch. But if you can stop or slow down the run, I think you're going to see some games like that this year in Seattle.
Awesome. Hey, folks, we're talking with Coach Derek of All 22 NFL Films, a fantastic analyst out there. He puts out lots of great Seahawks footage. So, Coach, I got one more question on the offensive line. And this is, again, like we're not used to this world. So Anthony Bradford looks like he is absolutely cemented the right guard position, but he's had a very rocky start to his Seahawks career, and he looks very different this year. So, do you have any thoughts about Bradford? Do you think, and I guess, is this scheme? Is it coaching? Is it Bradford getting better? What did you see on film from the right guard as part of the entire package for the Seahawks?
Yeah, I'm not sure that I can really offer much in terms of him getting better. The system last year was very different than this system, clearly, from an offensive standpoint. You have to kind of compare him for what we're seeing right now to the left guard on the other side. And so one of the things that I do that I was taught to do by someone way smarter than me is, like look at the all 22 film when you have the line of scrimmage in a certain location, and then pause after the ball is snapped a certain period of time, or slow run it, see which offensive lineman is the furthest out there, who's getting off the ball. He doesn't stack up to Zabel consistently. He just doesn't, But I think he's still getting into people. He seems to be playing downhill. Maybe to use my degree analogy, Zabel is playing 7 degrees downhill, and maybe Bradford's playing 2 or 3. But that's better than even what you've seen in the last 4 years, or playing at an incline. I think he's definitely been inconsistent from what I saw, some of last year. Just overall health of the offensive line and continuity should be a big asset for what's happening there, and the way that Kubiak wants to run things. Clearly Clint Kubiak's never coached in Baltimore, and I don't know him very well, other than a couple of videos I did in the offseason about his time with the Saints. But his father spent time in Baltimore. We had an amazing season with him. And the one year that he came over and ran the offense, and I think he went to Denver after that. And so that system is one that is committed. And if you don't show up defensively with a plan to stop their run game, and it's going to be a diverse run game. It's not going to be, you can, the ball's here and it's 21 personnel. This formation's run's going to be to this side. No, he's going to have run plays to both sides and pass plays and complementary stuff off of it. I love the screen game that he showed in New Orleans. And I think that's going to be an element with Walker, Charbonnet, and JSN and Cup. Those guys they got the short area speed and agility, I should say. So I'm a big fan of what you guys got there, and I think it's gonna cause defenses problems and really fit well with the defensive scheme that McDonald and Durday run.
Well, we haven't seen the screen game come quite to life yet, but one of the plays that to go back to with the fullback, you pointed out that you saw some Robbie Oots, number 40, out there. There was a really nice play that he set up where he actually had the fullback lined up more in the tight end position. And the whole offense kind of flowed to the right. And what Oots did was he did like kind of a little pirouette and then leaked out toward the sideline, just wide open and catching a pass. So in addition
the Raiders
to,
game?
No,
Raiders,
this was actually just against the Chiefs.
Yeah. It's one in each game, I think, right?
Okay, yeah, it could be. And it's just more that idea that here you pointed out Oots and his kind of heat-seeking ability, but then to also have that ability to be a pass catcher when needed too. Is that kind of a feature of the Kubiak offense, do you think?
Well, I think it's a feature of any offense that's going to go 21 personnel, and that 21 personnel can sometimes be lined up in a formation that's 12. See, personnel is pre-alignment by the offense. Personnel occurs in the huddle, and the defense, is communicating the personnel via headset to the coordinator, or they're observing it themselves. But someone is saying, we got 11, or we got 12, or we got 21. So the matching of personnel occurs while they're in a huddle, right? We're talking the NFL where teams still huddle. In college, there's, all that crazy shit where they're not huddling at all. But then the formation could be, and this is what the Ravens have done with Ricard over the years, and what I suspect will occur with Oots, is that he'll be a fullback from a personnel standpoint, so it's 21. And then formation-wise, as you just mentioned a moment ago, he may be a tight end. I think that the usage of him is very professional in the 2 times that I think he's been targeted in these 2 games, or maybe it was Oots in the first game against the Raiders and somebody else in the Chiefs game. I could be wrong, because Kubiak will show a formation and run a play, and then both of those 2 passes to the fullbacks have occurred from the same formation, the same run look, essentially, later on, either in that possession or an ensuing possession. So basically, you're giving them the cheese to observe and take, and then we're running something that's secondary or complementary to the first play we showed you. I think that it's going to be used sparingly and probably more later in the season or later in games than you've seen it here. I seem to remember that completion against the Raiders was late first quarter or second quarter. I might be wrong. With Ricard, for example, to use by comparison, our completions to him are normally later in the season and later on in games. Once we've established a particular formation and a look that you as the defense are reacting to, maybe overreacting to, and then we'll get you back the other way with the fullback. So, I'm not sure if I answered your question, but that's pretty much, how I see it playing out to compare it to the way the Ravens have used Ricard for years.
Very nice. Sounds like, Oots hammered the over on 35 plus receptions. Maybe we'll see that. So, Coach, how about what we saw? We all want to see Darnold out there, and you get this amazing opening drive. I think it's 4 for 4, and it was kept real simple for Darnold, and that's, I think, partly on purpose. But you've studied the Kubiak offense and offenses like this for quite a while. What other layers do you think come along later? You just before you talk about evolving and getting the fullback into games later or using them more late in the season, what can Seahawks fans expect? We saw, I don't call it dinking and dunking because it was more schemed open with little like fake orbit motions, and JSN's in the flat all by himself, and Oots is doing a reverse pivot and he's in the flat all by himself. But what else are big staples that we can expect to see from Darnold and Kubiak as things evolve and we, take the, what do they call those breaks? Brandon, help me out here. What are you're in a golf cart and you can only go a certain speed. What's that called?
Oh yeah.
What's that called? Coach, what do you call that thing?
Like a governor on a car.
A governor. When we take the governor off, what can our Seahawks fans expect from Darnold in the pass offense?
So let me start here with the completion to JSN. I think that was a second and 3, or maybe it was a 2nd and 6.
Second and 6,
yeah. Yeah. So he had shown, and this goes along with my point from the previous portion of what we were talking about. He had shown the same formation, first play of the game, the 13-yard run by Charbonnet. Same exact formation. The wide receivers were split out a little bit wider on the second iteration of it, and it's just a clear out route by Cup. So again, he's going to line up in things early, first possession, second possession, see how you as the defense are matching it, what you're calling coverage-wise, and then he'll have it'll go like this: play number 1 from this formation, and play number 2 from that formation may not occur on that possession. It may not occur till the third possession. So it's like 1, and then some period of time elapses. 2, okay, if you've lined up the same way to 1 and 2, then now I'm going to go to 3A. Or 3B or 3C. And those branches occur differently based on how you as a defense match personnel-wise and what coverages you play on the first 2 iterations of that formation. Hopefully all this is coming through. I've tried to explain this a couple of different ways because people think that you script games and really, you don't script the first 8 plays. You script the first play out of each formation, see how teams are lining up and what they're playing. And so Kubiak, to me, right now, looks like a guy who's got it scripted like an upside down tree, 1, 2, 3A, 3B, 3C, and then off of each 3A, 3B, 3C would be 4A, 4B, 4C in each of those 3 branches. It's an advanced thing at that level. I would say it's very Rams-esque, and you guys probably don't like hearing that.
I'm okay with Rams football.
Yeah, exactly.
They've had a lot of success against us.
Yeah, that's the one thing there, Coach, is just to jump in there. Is like you mentioned the Rams. Like we as Seahawks fans are frankly sick of, until last year, McVay was handled by McDonald quite nicely. But for many years, it's just dudes running free. It's just, it's like easy looking things where it's been Russ hero ball and then Geno hero ball on like 3rd and 7 to convert something. And they're good. So they often enough did so we could win 10 football games. But when it came to playing the Rams or the Niners when they were really prime, it's just Kittle wide open, Debo wide open, and it became Puka wide open. And it's kind of nice to dish it out a little bit because we're just not used to that quite yet.
I think we talked about it, when I was on the show earlier in the summer, maybe that horizontal conflict. That's what McVay majors in that. The Shanahan guys major in that. Kubiak, same is in the same vein. He majors in that. Certain other NFL offenses minor in that, and maybe try to do it a little more often, but some don't. Some do it, don't do any of it. And so they're the ones that, when they have a bad game, it's a horrible game. These guys have built-in complementary plays off of the run action to one side. There was one attempt to do so in the game, may have been first possession, second possession. It's one of the only run plays that went for like 3 yards. It was like a jet follow. Cup goes in motion across. And sometimes, when the jet motion goes across, the run action goes opposite. I call that jet dive. And then sometimes the run action goes in the same direction of the jet follow. Just simple names to illustrate, where the ball's going relative to the jet motion. And I think Kubiak, just like the Shanahans, just like McVay, will have probably a half a dozen answers based on how you're dealing with each motion. And then so he'll go with that, those options dependent on how you're responding. I love what he did with the Chiefs because the Chiefs didn't get to respond to motion out of their nickel group. They had to respond to it out of their base 4-3. And the first 2 possessions, they were outflanked on those play. Going back to your original question here, they were outflanked. Those inside linebackers weren't dealing with the guys into the flats at all. I think he's an expert. It looks like, after small sample size, it looks like he's an expert at giving you horizontal conflict and then having a quick answer to go to from each formation to exploit your defense, whatever you're in. I wonder what you guys think and others, how much 12 and 21 personnel you think you're going to be in versus 11. Right now, I would suspect, can't prove obviously, but I would suspect you're going to be in more 12 and 21 than maybe you anticipated.
I would think definitely more than we're used to as Seahawks fans. But what is a lot really when it comes to the NFL? Because I feel like, gosh, if you're anything, I don't know, under 60% of 11 personnel,
yeah,
that is that kind of the mean of the league?
I think it's 64, 65, somewhere around there. So yeah, anything below 60 would be somewhat of an outlier, right? To me, you get there's a great website that provides a lot of this information. It's called Sumer Sports.
Yeah.
And I'm not a member of it, but I do use their information sometimes. I try to credit them in my video. They do a great job of showing you the different personnel groupings. I try to track it when I cover a game live. I try to chart it and generally get about 90-95% of the plays. Sometimes some of the personnel, it's a little tough. Like there was a formation in the Seahawks Chiefs game. I thought it was 20 personnel. So 2 running backs, 3 receivers, but it's 21. How do you say Arroyo? Properly. Huh?
Arroyo.
Okay. So I got like 3 different. I see people. There's a little bit of subtle.
I've heard of Arroyo. Yeah, I've heard it a couple different ways now. So
I love it every year when there's rookies that come in with names that have vowels that people pronounce differently. Because I'll intentionally do it 2 or 3 different ways. Because then you get comments. People are going to correct you on it. So, but in any case, he was split out wide. So from the all-22 angle, from the broadcast, excuse me. Okay, is that a receiver? I can't really see the number because the style of jersey. And so, you track the game live. Okay, is it 20 personnel? Is it 21? I love 20 personnel because it really puts the defense in a bind. And I wonder about that too. You probably never ran that at all last year in was it Grubb system. But I can see it being effective because it basically forces the defense to go into a nickel structure, but you retain the fullback. And again, the Rams don't use it because the Rams are like 93% 11 personnel. Mm-hmm. So they're getting a lot of stuff done out of wing T concepts from 11 personnel. But I wonder about 21, 12, and even some 20 being used a higher percentage of the time than pretty much everybody else in the league, except for us, except for the Ravens, because we use it a lot.
Yeah. Well, I think it's important that you point that out too, because if you have Arroyo split out wide, or if you have Bobo in line more, kind of acting as a tight end, or Derek Young, these big body wide receivers that can effectively play similar to a tight end, but they're technically a wide receiver, trying to diagnose exactly what that is, or a fullback who lines up in the tight end spot. It gets real difficult to really hone in, I think, on those personnel formations that you're talking about.
Yeah, I love the point, and for me too, it's also the bit of the sea change that the team went through when you bring in Cup and then Bobo's going to his third year. These are dudes that are very used to playing in like the condensed packages and blocking and being a part of that. And then the difference, from a huge difference that I'm seeing, is a lot of the, I guess you would call it, or maybe you correct me if I'm wrong, but the post snap motion, things that are happening across the face, face of the line after the ball snapped, and not just for seal blocks and stuff like that, but man, just to cause some like mass confusion and really get the linebackers doing something that you intend to go do to open something else up. But the type of bodies, Arroyo's a big body, and Bobo's a big dude in Cup. He's not small, but he's also like known to be the dude can block, right? So I love that with Kubiak. We looked at a game last year, Coach, where it was like a Spencer Rattler led game where they came back to almost beat the Commanders, where they were down like big, like 17-0 at halftime, and they turned the Jets, and they competed really well. And one of the things that kept standing out, and we were watching that once we knew Kubiak was going to become the coach. One thing that kept standing out was, man, some of these wide receivers, like even MVS, like they are putting dudes on their asses over and over and over again. And it just seemed to be small sample size, but it seemed to be like a staple of how Kubiak was coaching. And just wonder how that pulls through for you, if you've seen that in this system, and if you think we'll see a lot of that this year too.
Everybody seems really bought in on the offensive side. There's just, the finish, the last 0.8 seconds. You guys getting some echo?
No, you sound fine.
The last 0.8 seconds of a play, the finish of it, we talked about it in the first 5 or 10 minutes. That's obvious. That's observable. Number one. Number two, I have some interesting thoughts. I've had an interesting revelation about Arroyo when I saw him line up at receiver, and then I saw him line a couple of routes. He kind of reminds me of a guy the Ravens have named Isaiah Likely, who's been a tremendous playmaker, but really has more receiver-ish skills than most tight ends. And we use 22 personnel a lot. In fact, I think the Ravens 22 personnel may have been their highest rated from an EPA standpoint for 2024. I'm talking about basically Andrews and Likely on the field at the same time as Derrick Henry and Pat Ricard. And when I watch some of Kubiak's stuff, his heavy personnel groups, the first touchdown by Charbonnet is 13 personnel. So it's 3 tight ends. A beautiful usage of Arroyo running out into the flats. I called it an arc release, but he's really just running a route. He's pulling a defender with him, and not expecting Arroyo to be a blocker at the point of attack, using him according to his skills. To me, it looks very intricately designed, which you would expect, right? It's an NFL offensive coordinator who spent hundreds of hours trying to design the thing with specific players in mind at each position. I think you're in for an interesting season. The offense is, it is very different from Grubbs. You couldn't get more night and day difference from what you had last year versus this in terms of shotgun under center, heavy personnel groupings versus reliance on 11. Occasionally Grubbs, had some good screens, but they were different. They were spread shotgun screens. These are going to be under center screens. And it's one of the things that I hate about McVay's offense, but I really appreciate from an analyst standpoint. There's a differential timing in the delivery of the play. And what I mean is it's a direct handoff to the running back. And we actually did this in high school, where you would time how long after the snap the ball is given to someone. So if it's 2.1 seconds or 1.7, and it's 1.7, 1.8 on every single snap, we as a defense can do some things because it's so consistent, such a tight grouped coordination of either handing the ball off or the play action. And with the Rams, and I suspect with Kubiak, you're going to get a lot of stuff that's either direct handoff, like 1.8 seconds, play action, let's say 2.7, 2.8. I'm just throwing numbers out here. Or this irregular stuff that's like a screen or something abnormal, like you did with the Saints, that's going to be a differential timing that forces the defense to defend in an elongated manner than they're used to, and trying to figure out what the hell is happening. Is it a run play? Is it a pass play? Is it a screen? I think Kubiak right now looks like a guy who's ready to go for week 1. You guys, if it was me and we could skip week 3 for you in the preseason and go right on to week 1, I think you should take that bet, because to me, the offense looks like they're ready to rock and roll right now.
I'm fine with it. Let's cancel the rest of the preseason. Let's go straight to the regular season. Really want to thank you for coming on. Clinton, you got one more for Coach here before you got to get on out of here?
Just one more I think is a good one. So this was obviously, we are kind of in Pollyanna mode right now, Coach. Now, I'm not asking to end us on a downer, because that would be dumb of me as a host. However, I do want to get your opinion on what types of defenses stylistically compete well versus the Kubiak Shanahan type systems. What teams do you think maybe on our schedule, or just in our division, just types of players, types of coaches, like, okay, they will cause you a problem, and maybe a reason or two why they tend to be a bit more of a pain in the you-know-what against this type of offense?
I mean, maybe your defense would be one.
That's cool. That's a good problem to have.
No, but to go a little bit more in depth there, a defensive coordinator / head coach who's not scared to be wrong. With McVay, Shanahan.
Yeah, say more about that, please. Yeah, go ahead.
I experienced it on a far lower level, but you're paralyzed by the threat of the run, the play action, the differential timing in plays that I kind of talked about earlier. Forgive me if the explanation of that wasn't great, but you get paralyzed by all of the things that it could be. And because these guys design things at such a level that you can't really predict it. It's not supposed to be predictable. The people who are willing to take something away early in the downs, in the series, when I say series, I mean 1st and 10, 2nd and 4, 3rd and 1. Someone that's willing to take something away, and they're not scared to be wrong. And so normally for me, I would say that's the older defensive coordinators who've seen some of these problems before that are presented by 21 personnel 12. Spagnuolo would be one that I would say that's a guy. Even though they're a rival for us, I got tremendous amount of respect for the Bills' defensive structure. They operate out of a too high, mostly zone type players from a secondary standpoint. So a little bit more conservative than what some other teams are, like the Ravens. We're batshit crazy, just like you guys are on defense, batshit crazy with sending pressure, and but it's targeted. It's at a certain time. I would say the more experienced defensive coordinators that are able to give your offensive coordinator something he's got to be scared of. I hope they don't do this. I hope they don't do that, because, watching McVay and the Rams come to Baltimore in 2023 when we were absolutely on a roll, right? We destroyed the Lions, destroyed another team that came from the Pacific Northwest that I won't name. And later on in that regular season, the Rams come to Baltimore and totally had Mike flummoxed. I mean, we didn't defend anything well. We were lucky to get out of there. And I'll never forget watching that game. It was like, whoa, this is a different thing. And it was after 2023 that I did a lot of Rams film study stuff, and was kind of just amazed at his ability to create conflict and freeze people that don't attack. You didn't see as many people crossing the line of scrimmage because they were trained not to that particular week and whatever that call was. And so the more experienced DCs who have a system and aren't willing or are not scared to be wrong on early downs and put you in more 2nd and 8s than 2nd and 4 or 2nd and 5. Essentially, like Mike McDonald, the way he runs things on defense. So fortunately, you don't have to face him.
I like that answer, Brandon. And I think we should remind folks, Brandon, you want to take this part, let folks know where they can find and find all things about Coach D here?
Yes, you've been listening to Coach Derek, and you can find him out on YouTube, youtube.com/all_22_films. I'm sure if you type in all 22 films, it comes right up. But yeah, you're going to want to check out his Sam Darnold video. Going to want to check out the Eamon video. I won't. You mentioned not wanting to end on the negative. Maybe there is a little bit of negative, or maybe some constructive criticism around that Eamon video, Coach.
Well, I think you're just looking at a guy who, from a career trajectory standpoint, you've probably got, you're here, to use a triangle, you're at the bottom of the triangle, and you could end up with a number of different possibilities at the end. And I think what McDonald and the staff is doing now is they're limiting his available techniques and responsibilities that he's got to worry about. It doesn't mean anything towards him. It's not like, oh, he can't handle this. No, it's not. I don't suspect that at all. They're going to play him at nickel. They're going to play him at dime linebacker. I said it in my video as well. It's the same thing they did with Kyle Hamilton his rookie year. And by week 8 or week 10, he had already developed incredible film and impact plays coming forward. I will say this, I've seen 2 coverage situations where I was like, whoa, Emanwari looked really good there against a slot receiver. So I could be wrong with something I said in my initial film study, which was I suspect Emanwari will make more plays coming forward than he will going backwards. I could be wrong there, because definitely one last week, it was an out and up by the Chiefs, and Sky Moore early in the game covered it extremely well to the far side of the field, the top side of the screen. And so I think he's got tremendous potential. How similar is he to Kyle Hamilton? I can't answer that. Same body type, same level of athleticism, better straight line speed, because Hamilton's 40 is the reason why he fell to us. But tremendous talent. And with the Knight situation at inside linebacker, it wouldn't surprise me if you're in a lot of dime in passing situations and Emanwari's on the field to the boundary with blitz/coverage responsibility.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. I love that you're drawing that line to Kyle Hamilton, because if he ends up a fraction of the player of Kyle Hamilton, that would be pretty exciting for our defense too.
I mean, the difference is that Hamilton, like in the middle of a season where we're terrible defensively, we can just take Hamilton, move him back to half field safety, and he plays at an incredible level. Again, that's a wide net of possibilities for Emanwari's career in year 2 and year 3. I don't know that anyone would have predicted that for Hamilton his rookie year. Watching him out in space, even in training camp, I don't know that anyone would have predicted that. So, I think everyone should be excited and not have any level of negativity associated with it at all. He seems very integrated with the defense, and he's definitely communicating pre-snap. In some cases, maybe a little bit too much, because on 2 snaps against the Chiefs, he's like looking this way and the ball's snapped and he's got to reorient. So fantastic talent that, I didn't get to watch a ton of film of because I knew the Ravens weren't in on him, but I think you guys should be excited about his usage, mostly as a dime linebacker / a nickel defender. But man, when you can roll out there with Witherspoon as a nickel, it will be really tough for me as a coach to say Witherspoon is the nickel on every single 3rd and 8, because he is, as good as it gets, if you ask me, out there.
Yeah, he's Coach Derek of all 22 films. Coach, really want to thank you for coming on and talking about our Seahawks, and just looking forward to catching more of your stuff out there on YouTube.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. I got one coming off tonight, the Kubiak video that we talked about, and it focuses on 3 different ways that he attacks the defense with an I formation out of the shotgun run game, and then 1 back, what I tend to call ace. So if you're interested, you can check that out. I think it goes off a little past midnight Eastern Standard Time.
Awesome. So we're turning back to pumpkins, Seahawks fans. Tune in, go get that video. Coach Derek is the man. Coach, we'd love to check back in with you maybe, a couple of weeks in, maybe halfway through the season, and get a digest on what you're seeing from the Seahawks. We know you're going to be putting videos out there. So if you don't mind, we may come knocking again.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was week 3 or week 4. I had made a note to get in touch with you guys. We had communicated previously, so sounds perfect to me.
A quarter review, it sounds like. Awesome. Well, enjoy the rest of vacation, and good luck to your Ravens as you start the early season in just a couple of weeks, bud.
Yeah, man. Appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
And I think with that.
Well, Brandon, I got one more thing.
You got more?
I got more
to the show?
We got this. We got this. Look at this.
That's beautiful.
With this. How could we not give this to the people?
A couple of man-eaters right there.
And I think with that,
there's only one thing left to say.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.